Hello, and today's learning target is I can use the distributive property when necessary in solving equations. Let's take a look at the first example. I see 5 times the quantity, negative 4x plus 10 equals 270. So when I see a number here in front of parentheses, that tells me that I need to distribute that number and multiply by whatever is inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to draw arrows to everything I have to multiply the 5 by, and 5 times negative 4x is negative 20x, and 5 times 10 is 50, and that equals 270. So I've just distributed. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve this equation. I'm going to subtract 50 and move it to the other side, and then I'm left with negative 20x on the left-hand side is equal to 220. And then my last step to undo multiplication of negative 20 times x would be to divide by negative 20. And 220 divided by negative 20 is negative 11. Now, don't forget when you are done solving an equation, you can take that answer and plug it back in for your variable to make sure that the equation holds true. All right, let's take a look at our second example here. I have 4 times the quantity, and when I say quantity, that means parentheses with terms inside of it. So 4 times the quantity, 2x minus 7 equals 20. Again, I always like to draw arrows because that helps remind me what I need to multiply the 4 by. And 4 times 2x is 8x, and 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. And that's equal to 20. And now I can go ahead and solve the remainder of this equation, and I'll add 28 to both sides. Okay, and so I'm left with 8x over on the left-hand side is equal to 48. Last step to undo multiplication would be to do division, so x equals 6. All right, let's look at the next example. So again, I see a number in front of the parentheses, so I'm going to draw an arrow and remind myself what everything that the 7 needs to be multiplied by. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 6x is 42x, and that all is equal to 154. Now I'm going to isolate my variable x and subtract 28 from both sides. And I'm left with 42x on the left-hand side is equal to 154 minus 28 is 126. And then now I have 42 times x, and to undo a multiplication problem, I divide by 42. And 126 divided by 42 is 3. So my answer here is x equals 3. You're doing a great job. Let's keep it up. All right, next example, I'm going to distribute the 6 here, and I get 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times negative 6x is negative 36x is equal to 18. I'm going to isolate my variable x, so the first move would be to subtract 54. And so now be careful, here on the left-hand side, I'm not just left with 36x, it's a negative 36x. Is equal to 18 minus 54 is a negative 36. And last step will be to divide by negative 36. So x equals a positive 1. All right, now if we look into some more of these problems are a little bit longer and involve a little bit more work to solve. So let's take a look here at this first example. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to distribute my 2 to everything inside the parentheses and then see what like terms I can combine. So I still have a negative 5x here plus 2 times a negative 7x is a negative 14x, and then 2 times 3 is a positive 6 equals 158. Now I have some like terms here. I have a 5x plus a negative 14x. So I'm going to combine those, and negative 5 plus negative 14x is really negative 5 minus 14, which is negative 19x. And then I still have plus 6 equals 158. So I want to isolate my variable x, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I'm left with negative 19x equals 152. Last step to undo a multiplication problem is to divide by negative 19. So x equals here negative 8. Again, as you are taking your time and slowing down, it's always a good idea to take your answer and plug it back into the original equation in for the variable, and to make sure that your answer is correct and it works. Okay, let's get started on this next problem. Again, I know I'm going to have to combine some like terms and use the distributive property here. So I'm first going to use the distributive property. So I have negative 30 equals 7x minus 4x, and then a negative 4 times 15 is a negative 60. And now I'm going to go ahead and combine some like terms. So I have a 7x and a negative 4x, and those together give me a 3x minus 60. And then isolate my variable x, so I'll add 60 to both sides. And negative 30 plus 60 is a positive 30 equals 3x. And then continue to solve. So 10 equals x, or as I like to write, the variable first. So just flip-flop those two and get x equals 10. Okay, again, we see a little bit longer of a problem, an example that we have to do together. So let's go ahead and take a look at the distributive property first, because I see parentheses and a negative 6 in front of it, so I know I have to distribute. So I have negative 7x, and then a negative 6 times a negative 2x is a positive 12x, and a negative 6 times a positive 12 is negative 72. And then equals negative 42. So I do see a couple like terms here. I see a negative 7x plus a 12x. So if I put those two together, negative 7 plus 12 is 5x minus 72 equals negative 42. Isolate my variable x, and I'll add 72 to both sides. And negative 42 plus 72 is 30. So then last step is to divide, and we get x equals 6. Okay, so now to finish up at the bottom here, summary steps. Zoom out so we can see all of that. So let's look at filling in the blanks. Blank when necessary. We want to always distribute when necessary. And again, we use the distributive property when we see a parentheses with the number or term in front, and we know we'll have to multiply that term by everything that's inside of the parentheses. Combined any and all like terms. And then lastly, we want to solve. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye.